everybody, Maestro here. Welcome to the Con's Court. Today we have something very special. I've been very excited about doing this. Sorry that it's a little bit later that I'm doing this today, but I am very excited to do this unboxing. We have the King Ghidorah from Godzilla King of the Monsters. We are going to be doing this unboxing today. I'm very excited about this. And I'm very excited to have this in my collection, to add it to my collection, put it next to my Godzilla that I have, who is also from King of the Monsters. So this is going to be very, very cool. I'm very excited about this. With that being said, guys, let's go ahead and cut out all the crap and get straight into the unboxing and get this thing open. And boom, here he is, guys. This is King Ghidorah from Godzilla King of the Monsters, HIYA Toys, straight out of the box. As always, I start off with the first things that I noticed about this figure. First thing I noticed being the actual paintwork and the mold work, absolutely exquisite. I mean, it looks great. The gold gleams off of light. I can even see it from the light that's above me. It gleams off of it just like gold. All the veins and the details inside of the actual wings there, all the different scales, the details on the actual faces and heads of the three heads on Ghidorah, the scales going down the actual necks onto the belly, the nails and everything else, the claws, the teeth, the tongues on the inside of the mouth. Everything about this figure is highly detailed, highly just amazing paintwork and mold work. I have seen no blemishes, nothing wrong, no mismade molds, no nothing. Everything on this figure is absolutely perfect and amazing. When it comes to the aspect of how it looks gorgeous. So that is one very, very big plus about this figure, is how amazing it looks. Especially for display. I know anybody who would collect this figure is most definitely going to display it 90% of the time that it will own this figure. And with that being said, I gotta tell you, this thing excels in display. And it shows that the first time you get it out of the box. Also, the first thing I noticed is its size. Holy crap, this figure is humongous. I mean, you guys can already see, and especially if you've seen my other unboxings from the past, you will obviously see the overall size difference compared to the stuff that I've unboxed on this table. The camera is usually not this far out and not this high up to be able to capture this. This is my hand next to it. That is insane. That is my hand compared to that figure. Another thing that I noticed with this figure, I noticed a whole lot at first. His tails do not come already attached to him. If you know anything about King Ghidorah, you know that he has two tails. He has three heads, two wings, and two tails, and then 2 feet with no arms, because his wings are his arms. And so with that being said, the tails were not connected. Reason why this is such a big issue is because of how difficult it was to put the tails on the figure. If you guys saw my post on my channel, I literally said that the reason this video got delayed was because of an unforeseen issue with this figure and making this video. Guess what it was? It was the tails. I'm going to go ahead and move this, even though I really don't want to because of how hard it was to get it set up. So hopefully this will not affect his ability to stand. Please stay, please stay, please stay, please stay. Please stay. Perfect. Okay, magic. So let me move the camera down a little bit so you guys can see the tail a little better. So that there is the tails. Here are the tails. I want you to know, and I'm not exaggerating, I'm not kidding, this is not a joke, I spent at the very least 30 minutes getting the tails on. I kid you not. It took me at the very least, half an hour to get the tails on. Why, you ask? Well, that is a great question. So the pegs are far too big for the actual holes in the tails. So I had to literally get out a toolbox, take a drill and a drill bit, and I had to take that drill bit, go into the actual socket on the tails, and I had to go around the socket and literally forcefully widen the sockets out for 30 minutes to try to get it to fit. That's not the end, neither. The sockets still did not fit onto the ball joints. Still did not fit. So guess what I had to do after that? I had to go and literally find a Bic lighter, and I had to take the fire from the Bic lighter, heat up the little ball joint, and heat up the actual socket on the tail. Make sure I wiped off whatever soot or whatever else was on there, any black marks or streaks that was left from the fire, as quickly as I could before it cooled down. And then I managed to just jam in every single one of the tails into this figure. I kid you not, that was one of the hardest items I've ever had to put on a figure. That is the most difficult, the most time consuming. It quite literally is painful due to how many spikes and things that King Ghidorah, the figure, has. So you're gripping onto his body to try to go ahead and shove the tail in there. And these spikes hurt a whole lot more than you think they do. It took me half an hour to do that. Half an hour's worth of work just to get 2 tails on. That was the most time-consuming, gratuitous, and absolutely ridiculous and physically strenuous thing I've ever had to do for a figure. That alone, and I kid you not, that alone irritated me so much about this figure, I am immediately deducting 2 points from it. I mean it. I am immediately deducting 2 points from that. That is absolutely ridiculous. That should never be an issue with the figure. And granted, I'll give them some credit. They do say in the instructions that when you go ahead to put on the tails here, it says use a hairdryer or hot water, heat the tail hole 30 to 60 seconds, then attach to the tail peg. Let me tell you something. That has not worked for many people at all. I actually looked up this figure and I looked up a bunch of different other issues that people had with the tails to see. People have boiled the sockets like they were told in the instructions. People have used flames or have used a blow dryer or have used a drill or whatever else like that. And sometimes they still have not been able to put on this tail. So I'm not the only one that had that issue. Just using a blow dryer or boiling the sockets is not a guarantee work for this or a guarantee fix for this. It will not always work. And sometimes I even learned while watching some other TikToks and videos of somebody reviewing this specific part of this figure. They actually said that sometimes the size of the ball joint and the socket is a different size depending on every single different, actual product of this figure line. Because sometimes the pegs or the actual sockets will be made a little bit of a different size. You know what I mean? Every single product that's ever made when it's going down an assembly line, especially if it's manufactured through machines or whatever else, sometimes you tend to have defects. And sometimes people went and bought this and the ball joint on the peg was actually bigger or was smaller and it did not fit the tail and the tail kept falling off, or they were not able to get the tail on at all, had to literally cut the ball joint off of the peg and super glue the tail on. That is ridiculous. I hate that I'm even spending this long on this subject for the figure, but it needs to be said. This has completely irritated me so much about the figure that I am deducting 2 points immediately just for that. 2 points were taken away just because of that. If you're making a figure like this, and I get it, even on the box it says 15 plus, I understand, but even a 15-year-old 15 to 18-year-old is going to absolutely struggle, if not completely give up trying to do that. I damn near completely gave up on it, to be honest with you, because of how difficult it was to do. That is ridiculous. And for it being a figure that has joints and having thin wings and thin little joints like this, it's very sketchy to try to forcefully shove that on, or to find a way to melt it and or heat it up or boil it or whatever else, because you can damage the paintwork, the mold work. You can damage quite literally anything on this figure. You could accidentally break one of the joints trying to shove it on like that. I have never had that type of issue before until I got this figure. That is a big issue. So I am not happy about that at all. I am not happy. I am very happy that I finally got it on, because it looks absolutely great, but the actual process of getting it on is ridiculous. So immediately I'm deducting 2 points away from that. Very big issue. Very, very big issue for me. And as a collector, I do not appreciate that at all. I don't care that you put it in the instructions. I don't care what you did. It does not matter. If it's that difficult, honestly, I don't know if I would have gotten this figure had I known it was going to be that difficult for the tails. I would have gone and got like an SH Figure Arts version of this. I don't know if I would have done that. So that's a big issue and a big problem for me. Moving away from that, because I've already wasted so much time talking about that infuriating little part of this figure, let's move on to something a little bit more fun. Let's actually compare the size of this figure to some of the other Godzilla and King Kong figures that I have. First, we have the SH Monster Arts Godzilla here, the legendary Godzilla. As you guys can see, this figure is from both Godzilla King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, as you can see here with the bright blue scales. Very, very cool. There's the size comparison there, so you guys can see just how big King Ghidorah is, and very accurate to the size. Look at that. That is insane. But I mean, even in the movie, yeah, he was technically that tall, which is absolutely crazy. For the most part, King Ghidorah would like run or like slouch down, and he would crawl using his wings when he would be running at Godzilla. So normally he'd be a little bit smaller, but when he's standing straight up, that's the size that he is compared to a Godzilla that is similar to his figure scaling. Absolutely insane. Moving away from the legendary Godzilla, we're going to go back to actually an older Godzilla here. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the actual word right. The Heisei Godzilla, I think is what it's called. Right there. So the older, like, Toho Godzilla, like, actual movies, the black and white movies, or the old colorized version of the actual Godzilla with a person in the suit. This is still kind of in that suit era where people were actually in the Godzilla suit. So there you are. You guys get to actually see that there with a classic Godzilla, and even still completely towering over top of that classic Godzilla there. Moving on from that, we are going to the final figure that I'm going to compare it with, and we have the King Kong right here from the King Kong movie, the original movie. This is the older movie here. And this is the one that we see who is on the Empire State Building. Obviously, this is not to scale. The one that is up on the Empire State Building is far smaller. He would probably be about that size if he was compared to the King Ghidorah here from Godzilla King of the Monsters. But this is about kind of similar, if not maybe he's a little bit bigger than what the Kong in the legendary kind of Godzilla universe would be compared to King Ghidorah here. He probably would be a little bit shorter. Maybe his head would be up to the shoulders here. His head might be right about there. But I mean, it's comparable in size. It's pretty close. So I wanted to go ahead and compare those. Very, very cool at the end of the day. Let's move on to some of the accessories of the actual figure here. We have all the different stands here to actually help you hold the Ghidorah up when it's up in this upright position. We have this chest piece that actually holds up his chest. We have a couple little pieces that hold onto the wings to hold it up, little clip pieces there, and then we have the actual stand pieces that stick into the actual bases here. I believe there's 2 or 3 bases there, one going in the front and the other 2 going on the side to hold up the actual wings, and those will most definitely help you keep your King Ghidorah stable. Moving on to the last accessories, we have the actual lightning laser bolts that come straight out of King Ghidorah's mouths here. Very, very cool. Very, very long laser effects, which I like. And you can kind of see them displayed with a little bit of a glow effect on the actual box there. If I can get that. There you go. One cool thing about this figure is that the wings actually separate. Very, very cool little detail. I'm very worried about doing this because he's going to fall, I feel like. So the wings actually separate there. As you can see, you could pull them apart to kind of add to the articulation. Each one of the little wing pieces has a little ball joint here for articulation. So there's actually 3 on the top there. And then this big one is connected to the actual shoulder joint. And then you have a smaller one right down here. So there's 2 small ones down there. The big one with the 3 jointed pieces right there. This splits off, that splits off, that splits off. And it goes the same over there. Very, very cool. I like having it actually connected and snapped in because it looks more full and it looks more glorious and legendary, no pun intended, in my opinion. So I very much will keep the wings more connected rather than kind of separate. But when I'm posing him and stuff like that in pictures and stuff, especially for the video, I'll go ahead and separate them to show you guys just how it looks when he's got the wings fully separated as well. Moving on, he also has jaws that have these little triangle meaty pieces that actually go up into sockets on his jaw, allowing you to fully close his jaw and then fully open it. He also has a little jointed tongue inside his mouth that moves up and down, allowing you to kind of add more to his roar. You actually have a tongue that's moving around rather than just molded to the bottom of the jaw, which I think is very, very cool. Each one of the heads has that as well. The heads can turn and rotate. They can look up, down, side to side. And each one of these little joints on the necks also move as well. They can bend forward, back, side to side. Very, very cool. They can also rotate. And there is a total of, let me see here, it looks like one joint right there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. About 9 to 10 joints going all the way down to his actual torso, which is absolutely insane, but given how long of a neck that he has, it kind of makes sense. So you have that going all the way down, a whole lot of articulation. About the same amount of articulation for the back 2 tails as well. They have about the same number of joints, if not a little bit more, allowing for a lot of maneuverability. You might have to kind of work some of those joints right there. You might have to kind of force them a little bit to get them to bend and get a little bit more flexible. Given when you get it straight out of the box, they're still going to be kind of stiff from how long they've been sitting in their standard position. But they have a whole lot of articulation, which I absolutely love. You have an actual shoulder piece that connects to the actual joint that goes onto the wings, which is really, really cool. It's got a bunch of golden scales on that, which I really, really like. You also have the smaller wings that I've already talked to you about. They do rotate and they do move back and forward, up and down, which is really, really cool. His torso can rotate on his actual lower half. So he kind of does have like a waist rotation there. He also has the rotation and the flexibility right there on the upper hips. And then down here, once you get to the knees, he is able to bend those forward and back. He also has this other little mid area right there when you get to the calf area that can also rotate and move forward and back and a little bit side to side. And then you have the actual ankles down there, which allow you to rotate the actual feet and then move them side to side and back and forth, which is really, really cool. That is all the articulation that this figure has. I would love to actually move those around for you, but I'd be worried that I would just be toppling the figure and dropping it everywhere, which is not what I want to do. But I know for a fact that is all the articulation that this figure does have. So with that being said, we have went over the articulation, all the other accessories that he comes with, all the different issues that I have found with him, all the other cool things that I noticed about him immediately, and compared him to a bunch of the other Godzilla and King Kong figures that I have. Now we are going to move on to my final rating of this amazing figure. As I said, the tail issue quite literally not only took half an hour for me to get working, but it also delayed my ability to make this video in general. It delayed my quickness to be able to edit this video and to post it. So it quite literally caused me a whole lot of issues, which I do not want to deal with. And it kind of hurt my fingers, to be honest with you. My fingers are red from pushing the tail in so much to try to get it to work. And I quite literally had to pull out a lighter, and I had to pull out a tool kit to just get it all to fit in. It was a whole mess that I did not need, and as a figure collector, I never expected I would have to deal with. So with that being said, 2 points immediately deducted from the 10. I hate to do that, but it is what it is. So we are going to go ahead and rate this as high as I can possibly give it. And I'm going to be rating this a 7 out of 10. And the reason it lost another point for me is due to the fact that the figure has such an issue when it comes to standing up. I have not touched it a whole lot at all, but if I was to go ahead and kind of move him around a bit, you guys would maybe be able to see what I'm talking about. Just getting him to kind of move his heads down or something, you know. Oh, well, actually, it's kind of standing still, just barely. It's kind of working. Oh, nope, perfect. I knew it. I knew it. I'm glad I caught that when I did. I told you guys, I was like, I know I'm not crazy. See how now it's all falling apart because I finally touched it? I knew it was going to do that. Even now, I'm kind of worried because it looks a little slanted to the side, like it's about to fall. So I'm going to keep my hand here just in case. But yeah, this figure has a big issue when it comes to standing up. It quite literally needs plastic stands just to hold him up, which is a very big issue for me because it makes it hard to keep this figure stable when you are posing it. And no figure looks cool when it has a bunch of stands and plastic pieces holding it up. It kind of makes it look like it's a disabled figure, which I do not like. I like when a figure can stand up on its own. It looks more natural, and it looks far cooler for a dragon to stand up with its wings wide open like this, rather than having them held up with a bunch of plastic pieces. So that is why he lost another point. He's doing very well for right now. Before, when I was setting him up, it took me at least like 2 minutes to get him to actually stand up on his own. So I think because I've had him stood up for so long, he's kind of, his joints have been adjusted to the strength of holding him up for a minute. So that's really, really good. Hopefully that improves and I can just keep him standing up like this when I have him in my collection. Hopefully, I'm hoping that that's how it stays. But my rating is a 7 out of 10. I hate to do that to such a beautiful figure, but there is just too many issues with this figure ultimately to give it a 10, a 9, or even an 8. And there you guys have it. That is the King Ghidorah from HIYA Toys. Very, very excited about this. Like I told you guys, I can't wait to put this up in my collection. It looks so good. And with that being said, guys, if you enjoyed my unboxing and review, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you all thought about this. And as always, I will catch you on the next video. Peace.